Funding for Shaperillis is provided by
Squarespace, the sponsor of today's video. Now you're probably looking at that title and thinking, oh really, Shafe? What about Dear Evan Hansen and Cats? Yeah, I think as movies they are worse. But here's the thing. Those original musicals that those movies are based on, they both have at least a couple of good songs to their name. You know, Oliver, a stage show that I have routinely considered to be my least favorite musical of all time, it has some good songs. Emilia Perez is a musical that manages to have a whopping 0 good songs. I'm dead serious. Before we pursue that line of thought further, let's take a step back. Emilia Perez is inarguably the most controversial Best Picture nominee in years. It's like, last year at the Oscars, the only Best Picture nominee that stirred up any disdain at all was Maestro, which is ultimately just kind of a standard okay biopic. And yet we all kind of rallied against it as the villain of last year's award season. Well, we didn't know how good we had it back then. Emilia Perez is so much worse. It is a movie by a cis French man about a trans Mexican woman, with no level of research put in for trans people or Mexicans. It is a film that has largely been derided by both of these groups, especially Mexicans it seems. Apparently the Spanish they speak and the accents they use in the movie are just completely wrong, and the story is about a cartel leader who fakes her own death in order to transition and live out her life as Emilia Perez. Hey, that's the name of the movie. This film evidently makes a mockery of a lot of real life issues plaguing Mexico, like the cartel, and the missing person incidents that happened because of cartel violence. I'm not knowledgeable on the subject myself, but I have had at least one Mexican person describe this to me as the Mexican equivalent of an American musical where one of the 9/11 terrorists becomes trans, feels really bad about 9/11, and decides to make a non-profit to help the victims' families of 9/11. And this isn't satirical either, this is all played completely straight. So, people don't like this movie for a myriad of reasons. I watched it and hated it. And after it racked up a staggering 13 nominations at the Academy Awards, literally the same number Oppenheimer got last year, I just... how? Anyway, that, coupled with my tweets about how bad the movie is, frequently popping the hell off, made me realize that maybe there's a demand for a full-on cinematic disaster review of this movie. There's certainly interest on my end, but I also really wanted to get this out before the Oscars, and there's just so much to talk about. So many layers to how abhorrent this movie is. And not only do I not have a lot of time to put in significant levels of research into why this movie is so horrible and offensive, I also just wouldn't feel right doing so. As someone who isn't trans nor Mexican, I think you should probably hear it from those groups why exactly this movie is so offensive to them. Not saying I couldn't tell you these things after extensive research, but even if I did have more time, I kinda don't want to dedicate that much thought to this movie. It just feels icky to watch. So if you're interested in why it's bad trans and Mexican representation, here are some videos and articles you can check out. With all that said, I still really want to complain about this film, and there's a definite angle that not a lot of other people are covering because of just how much other awful shit they need to focus on. Emilia Perez is a musical, a fact that most people forget because the songs are atrocious, in the worst possible way because they sound awful when you're listening to them, but then they don't even have the courtesy of sticking out in your mind after the fact. Maybe the vaginoplasty song that's been going around Twitter does, but that's it. Compare this to Wish, another bad musical that at least had the courtesy of having memorably bad music. Like, it was fun to talk about how bad those songs are. But here, they're so forgettable and so irrelevant to the actual story itself that some people who haven't seen this movie might not even know it's a musical. With Wish, you knew the songs were one of the primary complaints people had, even if you've never seen the movie. And speaking of Wish, really think about how bad those songs are. How it's easily one of, if not the worst Disney soundtracks of all time. Emilia Perez is worse, like significantly so. I do not say this is the worst musical I've ever seen in my life lightly. Because while I have hated movies that happen to be musicals slightly more, if we compare them as musicals and not as movies, only taking the songs and how they support the story into account, Emilia Perez loses every single time, and it's not even close. So today, let's detail why this movie is such an abomination to the art of musicals in general, and Jacques Audiard should be ashamed of himself. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but I'm not gonna look it up. He didn't look up stuff about Mexico before making this movie. We're gonna go over every single damn song in the movie and why they fail. So strap in, it's gonna be quite the ride. Alright, so after the billion logos at the start of this movie, we have this opening song sung by a choir off screen. See if you can tell me why it's bad from this short clip. Yeah, this is some of the most hideous sounding, atrocious autotune I've ever heard. On top of horribly bland lyrics and a random glow-in-the-dark mariachi band meant to trick you into thinking this is a campier film than it actually is. Wow, I'm sure glad they included this completely pointless mariachi band. How else would I know the movie is set in Mexico? Fuck you. The song then transitions into an auto-tuned choir of children singing about how they buy mattresses, bed springs, refrigerators, stoves, washing machines, microwaves. What am I listening to here? This does absolutely nothing to establish the setting or any characters. It is completely irrelevant to the film you're about to watch. Maybe it's the director's way of saying, hey look, Mexicans are poor. These children will buy all these old appliances in order to stimulate the economy. I don't know if that was his intention, but it's certainly in line with his comments about the Spanish language. Now we come to the first song sung by a character, El Alegato. Sorry if I mispronounce any Spanish names, by the way. I feel bad about that, even though I don't feel bad about mispronouncing the director's name. Zoe Saldana, who isn't amazing, but also is the only semi-decent performer in this entire movie, plays a lawyer singing about her current case. The lyrics are so matter-of-fact and so dry, mostly just stating the facts of the case and coming across like a stream of consciousness. I'll give credit where it's due. The choreography is pretty solid, and I like some of the lyrics, like, come and open the doors to the courtroom of your conscience. But most of these lyrics are just so bland. It's also difficult to pick out a consistent rhythm here. The background instruments are just so muted, as are Saldana's vocals for the most part. There's a decent energy to the song visually, but it's so forgettable musically. It leaves no impression and doesn't tell us much about Rita as a character. Does she actually believe the stuff she's singing? Or is she just singing it because it's her job to defend her clients? I don't know, man. Maybe the part where it goes dark and the rest of the ensemble freezes would have been a good time to show us her actual thoughts, but it just feels like more of the same. And then the song abruptly ends without a memorable finisher and it just cuts to the next scene. Get used to that. It's gonna happen a lot. Alright, I don't have a clever transition this time. I just need a break from all this chicanery. Let's do Squarespace now. Squarespace is an amazing online website builder that enables you to create beautiful websites for your business or personal hobby. You can utilize their new design intelligence features to build an amazing, more personalized website tailored to your unique needs, allowing you to create your own digital identity you can use across your entire online presence. Squarespace makes it easy to sell all sorts of things like online courses, blogs, videos, and memberships. Put your content behind a paywall to get recurring revenue. Simply set the price and choose whether to charge a one-time fee or subscription for access. Plus, you can easily manage all your payments in one place with Squarespace Payments. It's super quick and easy. You can get started in just a few clicks and start receiving payments right away. Your customers can use tons of popular payment methods like Klarna, ACH Direct Debit in the US, Apple Pay, Afterpay in the US and Canada, and ClearPay in the UK. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/jfrillis to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Oh boy, now time for our I Want song, I guess. This is totally justified because it's abundantly clear how discontented Rita is with her current job. See, she lied about a client's innocence, and we see how much it's tearing her apart because she thought to herself, what bullshit. That's the entire setup for the big I Want song. Okay, I promise, I'm not going to talk about how poorly the story gets across character motivations too much. I just want to focus on why the songs are bad. But it's just hard, man. It's so rare to get a movie that fails on so many accounts. Anyway, I'm obviously going to give a bit of a pass to the lack of rhyming lyrics since this is in Spanish and needs to be translated with English subtitles. After all, it's not like there are any songs in English later on that don't rhyme. Anyway, back to our current song, Todo y Nada. hey, you know what? There's kind of a rhythm to this one. The lyrics are a little clunky, but they aren't terrible, and this does a solid job of getting across Rita's frustrations. The custodian backup singers are a fun touch as well. Damn, I think I'm actually starting to like this song. It's got good momentum, and it just keeps building and building into something super bombastic. Oh, it's over. It just abruptly ends right when you think it's about to go into a more exciting and elaborate version of the chorus. Just why? You actually had something there for a second. It could have actually been good, but instead it just feels half finished. What is your problem? Next up is El Encuentro, which is the easiest song to explain why it's bad so far. It's literally nothing but whispering. Barely even a song musically, just another stream of consciousness lyrically. This is the first time where the fact that this is a musical started to feel extremely forced and stupid. And trust me, it won't be the last. There is absolutely no reason Manitas, which by the way is a fucking insane dead name to give a trans woman, needs to whisper sing the information about the bank account wirings in Switzerland to Rita. Oh boy, now it's time for the funny song that's all over Twitter. Oh man, it's the man to woman, penis to vagina song. Yay! Once again, I don't really feel like I need to tell you why this song is bad. It's vaguely catchy at times, but it's also so damn weird. Plus, it's in English, so this is when I realized firsthand, oh, it's not the fact that it needed to be translated from Spanish to English. The lyrics in this movie really are that bad and clunky. I mean, what can you even say about the 1-2 deathly monotone punch of
And let you know about sex change operation.
Also, wait, she walks in with this man and she says, very nice to meet you. But like, wouldn't they have already met each other before coming in here since they were walking in together? Guys, I'm starting to think this movie isn't very good. Anyway, I'm not gonna go into the blunt and oversimplified optics of sex change operations this song presents. That's not my expertise, and unlike the director of this movie, I don't delve into topics that I've done no research on. But I can say that musically, this is a pretty awful song. There's no real rhythm to it. A large chunk is just the doctor listing various types of plasties and Rita responding, yes. The chorus sounds demented, and the vibe is sterile and creepy, which I don't think is what you want out of a pro-trans story. And the ending, vaginoplasty makes the men happy part is kinda catchy, kind of an earworm. Maybe the song is finally starting to find its footing musically. Oh, it's over. It ended just as it was getting not shitty. You know, part of the reason people like musicals is because they like listening to the songs. What do you think they're gonna get out of a song that just ends abruptly like this? And not for any meaningful story reason. I swear to God, it's like they just got bored writing these and said, yeah, that's enough of a song. You don't need to end it or anything. Just have it stop. No amount of laughing at how goofy and out of pocket the from penis to vagina lyric is will save this from being one of the most atrocious songs I've ever heard in any musical. I'd probably rank it in the top half of the list so far. Actually, f it, I guess I'll keep a running total. The best song so far was Todo y Nada, then El Alegato, then honestly this. This is currently the average for these goddamn songs. Oh my god, why am I doing this? Someone put me out of my misery. Next up is the opening song with the atrocious auto-tune. And the worst song so far is the mumblecore one about banking details in Switzerland. Oh boy, I can't wait to see how the rankings take shape the longer we go on. Next up is the song where she finally meets with the doctor who will do the gender reassignment surgery. Except he doesn't want to do it, even though it's literally his job and she has to convince him to do his job. Okay. Oh, and the song is just called Lady, because the first lyric he sings is Lady.
Lady.
If you're not even gonna put any efforts into the titles of your songs, then why are you making a fucking musical? Anyway, there's a decent-ish melody to this one, but the lyrics are absolute nonsense.
Changing the body changes society.
Okay, I guess that tracks. Society will see Emilia's new gender presentation and accept that, sure.
Changing society changes the soul.
The soul of what? Of Emilia? Or just the general soul of society? I don't know. I guess she means Emilia's soul because she will feel uplifted that society accepts her. Alright.
Changing the soul changes society. Changing society changes it all.
Whoa, wait a minute, slow down. Okay, so changing the soul changes society. But wait, I thought it was changing society that changed the soul. So now they're both changing each other simultaneously? And then changing society changes it all? Like, yeah, but you already used society in this metaphor chain. You already said changing society changes the soul. But then you say changing society also changes it all. So why did you feel the need to say it changes the soul? Because the soul would be included in it all, right? Did you mean to use a different word in one of these spots other than society, but then you just left it in? Was this your first draft of the fucking song? What does any of this mean? I know it's not even a mistranslation or anything, because the song is in fucking English! Oh wait, I'm sorry, this is a French film, so maybe it was a mistranslation, since the director doesn't speak English or Spanish. Well, that makes this all better, doesn't it? Then Rita sings,
If you had seen what he has shown to me, you'd be a better man.
so like, what has she shown to you? The only thing you saw was her chest after 2 years of hormone therapy, and you looked horrified by it. You never had a moment where you are shown to admire Emilia's new gender presentation. This song does not support the fucking story I'm watching on screen. Oh, and the doctor is not off the hook in terms of nonsense lyrics either. What does "I fight and fix but never stop the war, my door is not God's door" even mean? What war is he talking about? Whatever, at least the song kinda sorta has an ending. Not a memorable one, but at least it does stop before cutting away mid-song to a different scene. Yippee! Putting it above the vaginoplasty song. Anyway, next we get another whispercore song from Emilia expressing her desire to be a woman. It only took 34 minutes and 7 songs for the main character to get their own I Want song. So yeah, that's the level of musical competency we're dealing with here. I think the song is bland musically, and despite the lyrics not flowing very well, I think it does a fine enough job of getting across the trans experience. I could see trans people connecting with the sentiments here, even if it's not really a good song. I mean, one of the lyrics is, "I don't lack murder." So yeah, I'm putting it between Lady and the vaginoplasty song, I guess. So Emilia has the surgery and begins living as a woman after faking her own death and making her wife and children believe that their husband/father horrifically died. That's cool. Also, the wife is played by Selena Gomez, and she is not very convincing in this role. She just feels like a child in every scene, and I did not buy her as the wife of a cartel leader at all. Even a spoiled one. And that's not even getting into how abysmal her Spanish apparently is. Okay, sorry, back to the songs. 4 years pass, and Emilia contacts Rita again. They sing a fine but disposable, mostly whispered through song, where Rita assumes she's gonna get killed, and Emilia is like, chill out, or whatever. The song is very whatever. The only real aspect of note is how much Carla Sofia Gascon is just not great at hitting her notes. Apparently they had to use AI during the production to help her hit said notes, as if this atrocity couldn't get any better. Putting this one below vaginoplasty. Oh boy, now we get to Selena Gomez's big number. Emilia is posing as a distant cousin of her former male self, and she invites her former wife and kids to stay with her in Mexico. And Jessie, played by Selena Gomez, is not happy about this. So she basically throws a musical tantrum in her room. I mean, I'll give the song this, at least it's not whispercore for a change. Instead, it's something much worse. Slow, awkward, rhythmless, with some of the worst deliveries I've ever heard in a song in my life. Selena Gomez can sing, right? Like, she's done music before, and presumably done it well. But you would never be able to tell based off of this song. The sad thing is, I don't even think the lyrics about her frustration at being trapped in this gilded cage are all that bad. And there's definitely an idea here with her getting transported into this dark room filled with dancers. But they don't go far enough with the idea. That's the thing about this movie's musical numbers. They always feel like a good start in terms of creative visual presentation, but then they never go the extra mile with them. The ideas are there, but they never get expanded on, and they're gone in the blink of an eye. There's a very cool shot at the end of the vaginoplasty song that mimics the lens of a camera. And then that's the only cool shot, because the song is immediately over after that. The opening song has a moment where all the dancers put a table with a work laptop in front of Rita, which is pretty nifty, but then that's all they do. Every single one of these songs is so half-baked, either visually, musically, lyrically, or sometimes all of the above. And this is the movie that has a shot of being the first musical to win Best Picture since Chicago? Are you joking? This beat Wicked at the Golden Globes for Best Musical or Comedy? What a sick joke! joke. If you look me straight in the eye and say that this is a better musical than Wicked, you might as well just turn in your movie watching card, because you don't deserve it. And this ridiculous, cringy, awkward grunge fest with Selena is the perfect example of why. It's just like, what the hell are we even doing here, Jacques? I'm putting this one as the second worst one so far, only above the Bank Details in Switzerland one. Next scene. Emilia and Rita are vibing and a lady asks them if they have seen her missing child. She sings literally just 4 lines, and I guess that's an entire song. This one's going at the bottom of the list. It's like The Moment Has Arrived or Potluck of Emilia Perez songs. Just fucking nothing. Next is the song where Emilia puts her son to bed, and the son sings about how he recognizes her scent and it reminds him of his dad, which isn't how being trans works apparently. You don't have the same scent. Wow, good job, movie. The son then lists a bunch of things Emilia smells like, such as the mountains, leather and coffee, spicy food, sugar, lamb roasting on the fire, the engine of the car, Coca-Cola Light with lemon, ice cubes, and sweat. Alright, at what point does this become less of a tender song about the things the son remembers about his allegedly dead father, and more of just a bunch of random bullshit thrown together with no rhyme or reason? Literally, it's just a random collection of things that doesn't flow together lyrically. It should be a very tender and heartbreaking moment, but just presenting all of these attributes about the dad aren't enough. You have to actually have skill to string them together into a lyrically flowing melody that's satisfying to listen to. It's a fine scene where Emilia has to emotionally react to the son remembering the last time his father hugged him, but the actual song is not doing any of the heavy lifting in that regard. If anything, it's a detriment to the scene. I'm putting this one in the fucking middle between the vaginoplasty and opening auto-tune shit songs. Next, Emilia enlists the help of incarcerated cartel members to start a non-profit organization to identify the bodies of cartel victims. This will definitely make up for all the murder and terror she did as a cartel kingpin. I have no clue why Rita's still sticking around. Does she really like Emilia or this work that much? Okay, sorry, back to the songs, my bad. So, Para is a rare ensemble number where all the families of cartel victims stare directly at the camera and say what exactly they want out of this non-profit. It's musically boring and it visually looks like an infomercial. Seeing these guys sing directly to the camera is incredibly awkward and corny. This guy specifically wants to learn how to calculate that 1 + 2 makes 3, and to cleanse his skin of tattoos. This got a screenplay nomination at the Oscars. Oh, and don't even get me started about the part where they all just randomly appear on a black screen. An equally not awkward and corny thing at all. Nope. There are real people in Mexico whose family members have gone missing due to cartel violence, and this doesn't feel respectful of that fact at all. With that said, it's probably like the 3rd best song so far. The music and lyrics are passable. Not good, mind you, but this is certainly the most thankfully mediocre song in a while. So now, Emilia holds a benefit gala for her non-profit, inviting all the drug kingpins, corrupt officials, and crooks she knows. And this pisses off Rita, who sings the elaborate musical number El Mal about it. Alright, I'm just gonna say right off the bat, this is the best song and best scene in the movie. It's the first time a musical number ever made me perk up when watching this slog. Rita sings about how corrupt and nasty all these people are, with a real fury both in her voice and her quite strong choreography. Plus, there's an actual good beat to it, and it's fun how she plays around with all these people as they're frozen in place. So is it actually good? I considered calling it the only good song in the movie, but I thought about it a little bit more, and nah. It's obviously the closest this movie gets to musical competence. Like, compared to all the other songs where there was kinda sorta something almost there, in this one, there's really something almost there. But ultimately, as per usual, it just doesn't flow together melodically all the way through. There are a lot of stops and starts, and Emilia's bits not only sound weak vocally, but they don't fit the tempo of the song. They slow it to a screeching halt before Rita's parts do their best to pick up that slack. I also don't know why a character as previously sexless as Rita is doing all these sexy bits. And as usual, the song ends before it really builds into something grand and sensational. I think the biggest nail in the coffin here, however, is how utterly pointless this song is. Legit, nothing comes of it. Rita sings about how much she despises these criminals and how they're all gonna pay. And then This is never addressed again for the rest of the movie. It's in line with Rita's character at the beginning, when she gets that not guilty verdict for a guilty client, and realizes she doesn't like compromising her morals. This builds off of that pretty well. But then after this, I guess they just forgot to follow up on it?
Sorry, you said you'd stop at nothing. That's right, I did nothing and stopped.
She continues to work for Emilia's nonprofit and completely compromises her morals in the process. The fact that they're working with all these shady people doesn't become a source of conflict later on. This song was meaningless. An empty platitude, much like the fucking movie it came from. So yeah, at best, I can say this song is a 6 out of 10. And that's being decently generous. It's more of like a 5.3, I don't know. This is the song that's probably gonna win the goddamn Oscar. I hate the Academy so much. Alright, I just want to get these last few over with. Next, Emilia meets a lady at her job and sings a song about how much she loves the lady and is split between her two selves. And it's pretty forgettable, but fine enough in the moment aside from a couple of cringe lyrics. Still nowhere near good though, putting it under para. Next, Jessie has rekindled a relationship with a past flame and they sing karaoke. This one feels like a generic pop song. Musically it sounds okay, even if it does feature lyrics like, if I fall off a cliff, it's my cliff. If I double over in pain, it's my pain. If I go to 7th heaven, it's my heaven. If I go down the wrong path, take a wild fucking guess what the next lyric is gonna be. Oh my god, it's my path! No way! At least Selena actually gets to sing good in this song, unlike her last one. Like I said, it's fine. Just a generic pop song. I thought it was licensed music at first, but nope, it's original to this movie, and it somehow also has an Oscar nom? Really? For this song? I mean, I guess to be fair, I would consider it to be the second best song in the movie. It at least kind of feels like a complete song and not something they gave up on writing halfway through. But with that said, there's no way in hell this deserves an Oscar nomination. Hell, neither does El Mal if we're being honest. Whatever, we're almost done with this shit show. Oh my god, I can finally never think about this movie again after this video is over. Thank god. Alright, let me breeze through the plot summary since I know a lot of you haven't actually seen the movie and are only vicariously learning about the story through this video. Honestly, I don't blame you. That's probably the way to do it. I would never toot my own horn and say that a dinky little YouTube video I make about a movie is better than watching the actual movie itself. But in this case, yeah, it is. Most YouTube videos are better than watching Emilia Perez. Anyway, we see Emilia bonding with her kids for the first time in the past hour within the movie. But oh no, Jessie wants to take the kids away and move in with her past flame. Emilia throws a fit about this and says they're her kids, even though she doesn't want to reveal her identity, so realistically she has no claim to the kids whatsoever. Like, if you're not gonna reveal that you're actually their parents, what right do you have to those kids? So Emilia freaks out, physically assaults Jessie, sends one of her goons to beat up Jessie's fiance. What a likable protagonist. She is then shocked to find out that Jessie took the kids. She freezes Jessie's bank accounts and Jessie is pissed. You can tell because Selena does such a good job acting here. Eventually, Jessie and her boyfriend kidnap Emilia to demand a ransom. Oh no, I care so much about her well-being after how she acted. Rita hires a bunch of guys with guns to save her, and they kind of rhythmically load their guns. This isn't a song, and yet it's catchier and has more rhythm than at least half the songs in this movie. Anyway, they all get into a big gunfight, and we finally get one of the last songs, Perdóname, where Emilia uses intimate knowledge of her past relationship with Jessie to reveal her identity. And like so many other songs in this godforsaken movie, it's a whispercore stream of consciousness song with no compelling lyrics. I don't know anymore. Putting it below the vaginoplasty song. Whatever, man. I just want to go to bed. Gustavo stuffs Emilia in the trunk. But then Jessie finally reveals Emilia's true identity and points a gun at Gus Fring, telling him to pull over. Then they fight over the gun and the car crashes in a ditch and all three of them die. This is such a stupid ending depending on multiple characters having the worst communication skills. But who cares? The movie's almost over, thank God! And all the people Emilia's nonprofit helped who haven't received any focus in the past hour sing about what a great person she was. It's completely unearned and doesn't feel like a grand or emotional finale number, but to its credit, it does at least sound like a real song with fine music and decently imaginative lyrics. I'll say it ranks third best in the whole movie. Oh my god, what a fucking nightmare. This entire movie feels like a musical made by someone who hates musicals as a concept. Or at the very least, someone with no frame of reference for what good, effective musical storytelling is. Barely any of the songs feel like they were fleshed out to the point that any competent musical composer would get them to. Hell, even an incompetent one typically wouldn't turn in a set of songs this atrocious. Say what you will about how bad the songs are in Wish or Moana 2, but at least it feels like they finished writing them and gave them beginnings, middles, and endings. Say what you will about awful movie musicals like Dear Evan Hansen or Cats, but at least a good handful of those original songs were well composed and sound good. The best I can say about the songs in Emilia Perez is that some of them got close to being decent. The vast majority, however, are extremely boring and forgettable, to the point where they make me wonder why they even bothered making this a musical. They all feel like an afterthought, and as a huge fan of the musical genre, it's hard to think of anything more insulting than the fact that this is one of the most successful musicals at the Academy Awards nomination-wise. Have these people lost their goddamn minds? Emilia Perez is a reprehensible film, spiritually and morally corrupt, with no interest in paying respect to trans people or Mexicans. I'm deeply mortified by its awards show dominance this season, as it has absolutely no business being nominated for a single Oscar, let alone 13. It's the kind of movie my friends and I would turn on for our weekly bad movie nights, then get bored of and turn off 15 minutes in. It's not the absolute worst movie I've seen. I think it has some decent visual ideas it doesn't fully capitalize on, and Zoe Saldana is seriously working overtime to hold this travesty together in a performance that certainly isn't Oscar worthy, but at least might deserve one of the 5 nomination slots if this was a weaker year. But make no mistake, I loathe this movie more than any other that came out in 2024. This is for so many reasons, but one of which, as I've demonstrated today, is because it is an utter, abject failure of a musical, the likes of which I have never seen before. It's gonna take a lot of effort for this to be unseated as the absolute worst musical I have ever seen in my life. Anyway, see you guys in my Oscar recap video. We'll talk more about whatever damage it does at this year's ceremony then. Good night, Mexico.